Chicago voters stuck with America's worst mayor, Brandon Johnson, send urgent warning to NYC about Zoran Mondani. Chicago is trying to let New York know, like, yo, y'all might not want to go down this route. Y'all might not want to be like us and bring in a socialist, bring in a communist, because it will destroy your city like it's destroyed ours. They will never put the people first. They will always put illegal immigrants before American citizens. They will always put criminals before Americans. Chicago's trying to warn them. So we're gonna talk a little bit about it, but before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. Now, this comes from the New York Post, and they report that voters in Chicago who regret supporting embattled far left Mayor Brandon Johnson have a stark warning for New Yorkers considering backing socialist Zoran Mondani to lead the city. Don't make the same mistake. Johnson, dubbed America's worst mayor by the Wall Street Journal editorial board, has drawn comparisons to Mondani for their shared progressive stances, which have been playing out disastrously in the Windy City. Quote, what I would say to New Yorkers is do your homework. You have to know who you're supporting, who you are voting for, so people of New York don't walk around feeling the way I do, said Kata Truss, a Johnson voter and campaigner turned vocal critic. She actually campaigned for this man. She said, quote, I have buyer's remorse in a way that I've never had before, Trust 59 told the Post this week. I mean, sad, right? This is her right here. Poor lady. She said, don't be me, she added. Don't do the research, follow the money, who is donating to his campaign, who got him elected. That will be determining where people ought to vote. Johnson rose to the mayor's office in 2023, elbowing his disastrous Democratic predecessor, Lori Lightfoot, out of the primary and ultimately defeating centrist Paul Vallis in a two-man runoff. His ascent, much like Mondani's, as the Democratic mayoral nominee, was given a major lift by minority and young activist voters, lured in by his adherence to left-wing doctrine, including a 2020 resolution Johnson introduced as Cook County Commissioner that would have defunded the police, a position he later sprinted away from, of course. Since becoming mayor, Johnson's approval rating has hovered around the high 20s, thanks in part to Chicago spending more than $600 million to address some 50,000 illegal immigrants who have made their way to the city in recent years. $600 million while people in Chicago are struggling. Crazy. Look at this here. Homeless congregate by an underpass near Lake Avenue in Chicago. People like this struggling, but they got $600 million to give to illegal immigrants. Make that make sense to me. Quote, I'm anti Brandon Johnson because I've seen what he's done to this city. All these resources he used to take care of illegal citizens is hurting the city, said Doris Lewis, 81, a retired Chicago high school teacher from Hyde Park. Chicago's budget woes have already become fodder for attacks in the New York City mayoral race, which ex-governor Andrew Cuomo, who is running as an independent, using the crisis to make an indirect dig at the frontrunner Mamdani. Quote, Chicago is proof that incompetent leadership can turn a deep dish city into a half-baked mess, he posted on X last week. Pretty clever. I like that. Mamdani and Cuomo, who have been coming in as the November contest runner-up in recent polls, will also face incumbent Mayor Eric Adams and lawyer Jim Walden, both running as independents, and GOP nominee Curtis Sliwa. He don't have a chance, unfortunately. That's sad. Uh, Lewis, the retired school teacher, said she voted for Johnson because he had a young black man with a family. He was a young black man with a family, but she realized her error once she saw how he was running the city, calling Johnson, quote, a disaster, a disgrace, and a total disappointment. Well, tell me how you really feel. She said, quote, I've been really angry with myself because going in, I had a general idea that he was pushing an agenda for everybody else except black people, she said, accusing Johnson of, quote, playing the race card to earn the community support. Uh, that's par for the course for the Democrat Party. They always play the race card. Quote, what agenda does Zohran Mamdani have for the black community in New York City, since that is who he is courting now? Lewis predicted that electing Mamdani, who is the front runner in the November general election, quote, would be a disaster for New York as it is a disaster for Chicago. Socialism hasn't worked for black people, so I am anti this guy in New York, she said. Socialism haven't worked for anyone, not just black people. Socialism has never ever worked anytime in history. But a February poll by M3 Strategies found just 20% of voters approve of the job Johnson is doing in Chicago. The embattled mayor is facing a handful of recall efforts, as well as multiple PACs raising millions of dollars to ensure he isn't reelected in 2027. The anti-Johnson sentiment was echoed among elected Democrats in the city. I mean, even Democrats can't stand this dude. Chicago Democratic Alderman Raymond Lopez, a self-described middle-of-the-road Democrat, they still make those, who voted for Vallis and said he supports law enforcement, capitalism, and personal responsibility, called on New Yorkers to learn from our mistakes. Man, they gonna kick you out the party. You making too much sense, Lopez. But he said, quote, we see a lot of comparisons being made right now. Both are hyper progressive, hyper left socialist Democratic candidates. He said of the oft made juxtaposition between Johnson and Mamdani. Now you have New York and Chicago duking it out for who is going to be the more socialist, the more progressive city in America. It's almost like a socialist nightmare, Lopez said. Learn from our mistakes and pick someone who is more focused on results and common sense than simply burning down the barn because you want to see a fire. Well said. But again, I really do think Mamdani is gonna win, but for the sake of New York, I really hope he don't. But it's gonna be a lot of good content for me if he does, though. So, but y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave y'all comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.